Mr. Jack Rogers, the architect for Holy Trinity Church, explains that the building began with a theological statement. There had to be a dome under which there would be an icon of Christ in majesty. The dome is the primary and strongest element of the architecture.
What we did is we started with an understanding that we were going to have about 400 seats, and we started with the dome, and we defined a 30-foot by 30-foot square, which is referred to as an apartment, under the dome, and that marked the cross points of the transepts and the nave. We generated the worship space first, and if you sit in the church and look at the transepts and the nave, the circular vaulting, if you let your eye continue that line, it is classical in proportion.
The iconographer has complimented Jack Rogers on his work.
It's interesting because he's done a lot of churches, and he was trained in the old school, I think, in Crete. But he did comment that all of the classical proportions that he had learned and studied over the years naturally fit the space.
The artist for the church is called an iconographer, a maker of icons. An icon is an image of Christ or of the Mother of God or of a saint. An icon is a sacred image, a sign of God's presence and of grace, an instrument of sanctification. An iconographer must be a spiritual man who begins his work with fasting and prayer. The iconographer for Holy Trinity was John Philippakis.
When did you start to work as an artist?
Actually, Bishop Brady, I started while I was at least 15, 16 years old, and little by sketching, and by follow what I can see from other churches in the old country. And later, while I was 18 years old, I moved to the United States when I started professionally. With the years, you have your own you present your own personality in the work as far as coloring and sketching is concerned.
The iconography of a Byzantine church is fixed. It begins with the dome. On the interior of the dome, there appears an icon of Christ the Almighty, the Pantocrator. In the apse behind the altar is an icon of the Mother of God with the Christ child in her lap. She is the bridge or ladder connecting God with the altar, the priest, and the people. The altar is partially concealed behind a screen on which icons appear. The partial concealment of the altar indicates the mystery and holiness of God's saving presence.
In the old days, there was a fasting before you start an iconography, praying, because this is a belief, this is a great theology behind this particular art. The iconographers, we do believe all we do they are not creations of us. They are creations of Almighty God.
Could you describe, as you would see the church, the Blessed Trinity, which you've just worked on, and imagine the liturgy going on, and how would you see the work that you've done there fitting into that liturgy?
It does spiritually. At that particular moment brings you, it separates you from the earth, and from there on you live in the highest, in the heavens. You live in higher spirits that has nothing to do with the earthly common life.
Could you tell me something about the Pantocrator?
Pantocrator, always it's depicted in the center of the church, in the dome, if the church has one, which symbolize, this is the main theme of the church actually. And in his expressions, you can see all the glory and the power of Almighty Jesus Christ. Somehow, people that when they work in the church, to see the church as an open Bible, something not only when they read the Bible, but they also see all different kind of scenes of the life of Christ, of all the martyrs, saints, and that makes them, I believe, much more closer to God.
Do you enjoy your work?
I really do.
Την ενότητα της πίστεως και την κοινωνία του Αγίου Πνεύματος ετισάμενη.
The church was opened for use on September 8, 1990 by Bishop Isaiah, Bishop John, and Father Michael. The building was blessed with water. The exterior doors were opened. The people entered to see Christ in the dome, and his mother in the apse.